What could you do with a free business loan questionnaire that comes with a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist from a real business funding expert, business loan broker expert who breaks down for you very well the details per details to different lenders, the best lenders, underwriters, those services, those organizations, what to look out for, what's in your best interest at heart, as well as an up to $150,000 SBA loan that's now out in the market without needing profitability. You can report a loss, a gain. It can be cash flow deficiency, or you are on an uptick, and a little bit more. Hi, this is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. I'm a business funding expert. I'm also an introverted person, so sometimes you hear a word probably not come out the way it needs to. That's likely why. And I've been in this industry long enough now to know what each and every industry needs. What are the requirements? Qualifications is one part, your use of funds, but more importantly, who is the person behind that? I care about you as a person and as a human being. And yes, I do talk this slowly. I listen more than I speak. And I would say, or people would say, I'm an old man at my age and old soul at heart, which is great. And so I've helped out a lot of businesses, and in a second here I'm going to be getting into breaking this questionnaire form down, and I'll link you to this down below in the description as well as in the bio if you're watching right now on TikTok, Instagram, or other platforms. In the bio, later on replay YouTube, down below in the description will be that questionnaire you can fill out. I'll also have a specific real estate financing questionnaire if you're a real estate investor, or if you're looking for ground up construction projects for your next investment, fix and flips, whatever that may be. I'll leave that down below. Or if you are in the real estate management space, something like that, and you do need working capital, whatever your next project or project needs are and you're trying to do, again, I'll leave that. So I'm going to break it down for you guys here in just a second. And I have my laptop right in front of me, and I'm going to break down the process to you step by step. Obviously, you can't see it here, and I've released content in the past about how this questionnaire looks like. I just wanted to put it in this format. So let me get started with this. And again, it does come with a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist. And as I'm opening up one of my screens, I have it right there. I'll get into it in just a second here. But what you should know is, more importantly, why. Why should you care about my business? Why should you care about me? Well, for one, I've been there. I run multiple businesses. I have one in the digital marketing agency, lead generation space, affiliate marketing in the health space, and in a few other verticals there, other ventures, and this is my primary focus as a business funding expert. I got into this because I want to help a lot of business owners navigate away from all those shady online marketplaces, people out there just bombarding you. They're not getting you what's best and your best interest at heart. And they're really just trying to take you away from something. It's a very nasty field a lot of times. I'm not one that participates in none of that. I'm not one that's going to invade your space or ever pressure you. I don't even like to use the word sell. I don't even do that. I don't come from that background. I went to school. I educated myself. I went as a Division I soccer player, studied sociology for a little bit. Then I changed majors into chemical engineering. I'm a very math and system-oriented person. I love that stuff. My favorite class being chemistry. Over time, I wanted to get into business, so then I navigated myself into business administration, and I went forward from there. But all that said and done, this questionnaire, very quickly, what I want you to know is there's about 3 steps to it. How it works is you'll submit this questionnaire, and then it'll come into my email inbox. I will then evaluate it, analyze it based upon the answers you've given me, and I'm looking at it as we speak, so we'll go over it in just a second. And I know how to pre-underwrite files. I know what the best underwriters, the best lenders want. And so when you fill out this questionnaire detail per detail, top to bottom, it could take you less than a minute, and you can give me somewhat of an average or estimates, and it'll come into my email inbox. And then I will take the time to analyze that, evaluate it. And what I'll do for you, and I do for everybody else, I'm very systematic in this, guys. This is why I don't spend time on phone calls every day, and I don't do this traditionally. I'm very cerebral, very meticulous, and you want this. And what you're going to get as well is detail per details on services that you just can't find anywhere. You try to go to place a lender or an organization, or you search through a blog or other video content that isn't mine, by the way, and you're like, well, what are the exact details? How about the numbers? Can Michael break it down for me, as in what is a buy rate, what's a sell rate perhaps, or what are we doing when I have this APR, or I have this amount in this service, or there's this other product and I'm trying to compare it to that one? Can he show me multiple things and break it down in a way where that's not given everywhere? So I have details, insider information from these lenders and organizations that isn't publicly released all the time. And it isn't always publicly released to every single agent and broker, because I've gone through experiences getting people funded. And so once you move higher in with these lenders, they're more willing to help you out. And so they release a lot more information to me that others don't really have. And so that is a huge differentiating factor that you will find. Just very quickly too, I went to school, one, and then two, I was in the construction and manufacturing industry for a little bit in my younger 20s, and I wasn't in the cubicle space. I was actually in the actual field working on the machine, coming from a manufacturing family. My dad's a CNC machinist now. He worked his way up from a grinder. My mom works in the medical space, and my younger brother is in real estate. And then there's me, the older one. And so over time, I got into financial logistics. I wasn't getting paid without what I was worth. The person in front of me didn't want to retire as I thought they would have, an ex-hardware engineer. And so doing all this data stuff, working for a huge contracting company, servicing HP, Peace Health, and a few others, huge. And it ended up happening. The company went down under. I was preparing already at the time for other streams of income. Do I go back to school for another semester, earn a different degree? Do I go back and earn more certifications? Unfortunately, I had to go back on unemployment benefits, food stamps. It wasn't by my choice. It was because of the company relieving people that quick. And that's when I started to really get that time and energy separation and said, hey, I'm going to work on a digital marketing agency, lead generation. I started doing affiliate marketing in the health space. I grew those very largely. I got into other ventures after that, purchasing courses to see how I can apply that for those businesses, and then sharing it with others, digital products, software, email marketing, a lot of these things, and then getting into other ventures, this now being my focus. So I've been there, and I know how it feels when you're at the bottom, having to go back on unemployment food stamp cards and not feeling well, and I know how it's like not looking the person in the eyes. Believe me, I'm an introvert more than many. We would understand that feeling, not just an introvert, but it was just at a time where I didn't want to continue to let my family down and be like, well, when we go out and eat, I couldn't provide as much, or I could have, but it was like I was in a pinch and it didn't feel good going out or doing those things. And so it happens. It's not like I'm a bad person at all. It's just it happens in life. And it's good because I learned a lot from this, and I didn't have to go specifically in the certain fields to begin with, but it happens. These things happen and you learn and you take those and you learn more. I wouldn't have changed a single thing. So back to this topic. I know we got off topic here, but I want you to understand why I'm in this, why I care, and why you should care about the business too. And so here I'm looking at this questionnaire, and I'm going to read it per detail. Actually, let me backspace. So here on the front page, you may see it says, get the funding your business needs fast, in gold or yellow heading, or it could change over time. With the help from a real expert, ... Please select from one of the two buttons below to fill out the right funding questionnaire. Non-startup business with 3+ months in business, startup business with less than 3 months in business. And I might reframe that a little bit. Plus, free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist or funding checklist. You can go through this, how it works. I'll break that down even more in a little bit. See some of the companies that I funded, and there are plenty more. I just put a handful of them there. Underneath here, just a few more things. You can learn a little bit more about myself. So I'm going to click on non-startup because that applies to me, but you'll click on the one that applies to you if it's still in that setup. Get the funding your business needs fast. Complete the questionnaire form below to get a personalized and customized email response for your best funding option and options from a real business loan broker expert. Please be serious and responsive. Please do not be that person wasting my energy and time and being hard to get a response/feedback from. I spent a good amount of my energy and time on this. Plus, get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist to get you approved for funding much faster without making mistakes. Let's back up. If you're that person who comes just into this and just ends up filling out a form and just, I responded back. I take like 10 to 15 minutes on a file, depending on the file. And if it's a larger like revenue, they have the credit, they have everything, then I'm going to take more time on that client. Rightfully so. And those can take 30 to 45 minutes plus, sometimes more or less time. and those can take 10 to 15 minutes as well, more or less. But I take a lot of time with each and every one of your guys' files, and I'm going to give you guys an email response if I didn't say this already, back with your best funding option and options. Very personalized, highly personalized, and customized. I'll go to the comments here in just a second. So very personalized and highly customized to your needs. In fact, here I can put it in a whole email, or I can also put it in a PDF. It may vary. It might be just one format. But here I'm looking at one person that I did last night. I actually did one of theirs at about 11:30 was my last one that I finished. I was catching up. And I'm not going to say the name of their business, but I put it here in PDF, and I put the name of their business and what do they need the type of capital for. Working capital, it could be expansion, it could be payroll, it could be in a different format. But here I have hi, and then I put their name. I could put yours there too. And I mean this. I don't just put it as a robotic response. This is me taking the time. Again, I know how to pre-underwrite these files, and you will get an email response back with your best funding option and options, whether it's a long email that it's clipped, but you have to open it up, or it's in a PDF format. It's all about energy, time efficiency, packaging it together. I get that, and professionalism. I get all that. But also, you got to look at it from my end on how many things I have to do every single day. So I got to move through these a lot. And so if I'm thinking about doing this for 10 to 15 minutes, how many can I get done in an hour? That's simple math, of course. All right. So once I look at that, can I reduce my energy and time I spend on each one of these? Well, where do I start off? And then I move to, do I have to star one first before I get back to it? So see, I'm very cerebral about these things. And I've learned this too, as in I've been experiencing this and I've been doing it over and over, and I've mastered this, guys. So if you guys want it from a true business loan broker expert, this is why. And it fits my personality as an introvert, ambiverted qualities, extroverted at times, right? So hi, their name. Please keep in mind as you go through this PDF/email, I know how to pre-underwrite the files very, very well through the lens of an underwriter, and the best out there, by the way. And what lenders want to see, the best in all areas. Even without looking at documents at this moment, I know that sounds crazy. You're like, well, you haven't. Yeah, that's the next stage. Whether I ask for them sent directly to my email inbox, or we go through our organization lender first, and then that's how we ask for them, and then we see it on our back end, right? Pro tips there. Here, even without looking at them, and I go through my 3 C's of capital. I didn't say this. I wanted to say it earlier. Credit, cash flow, collateral. Anytime you guys need to refer to what can I get approved for, I'll help you guys with this. I've released content on this in the past. I'll try to link it to you in the description. Credit-based funding, collateral-based cash flow, or credit, cash flow, collateral. Either have one of these 3, 2 of these 3, all of these 3. And if none of them, we work on business trade credit. Last night, I did about 2 hours of responding to these email questionnaires, so that's what will happen. You guys have an understanding now. That questionnaire is there. I'm gonna walk you guys through the exact details in a second, but I want you guys to get the framework. So step 1, you are going to fill out that form. Step 2, it'll land in my email inbox. Just sit back. You're gonna get a thank you page video, likely from me that I already created, and I'll walk you through this process more or less, and I'll explain to you again why it matters and why it's important. A lot of people want phone calls. It just doesn't work that way, guys. You guys got to get that out of your head. And it's not like he doesn't care. No, it's not that I don't care about you. It's not what it is. I funded millions upon $1 million businesses per month, not even per year, without even ever being on a call with one. And we have a great personal business relationship. And it wasn't built on a foundation of a call. And why it's not because I'm an introvert, but because, and I can do well over calls and stuff like that. It's just imagine, put yourself in my shoes. How many of you would want to take 20 to 30 calls? No, heck no. With my personality and my cerebral way of meticulous mind, you think I want to be doing outbound, inbound? No, that's not what I signed up for. And I get it. It can build something faster, but you got to question who you are communicating with. If I know somebody that I can just communicate with email and I'm like, oh, that's fine with me. That's Michael. That's Jerry. That's Sally. That's fine. Let's keep it to email. I even tell people, let's keep it to email, and they're fine with it. They're like, okay, there's a time for a phone call, and there's time for not doing one, and it has to make absolute sense, and I'm very cerebral about that, giving it. And so here, you're going to do that. I'll evaluate, analyze, I'll respond back to you, and that's the PDF we're looking at, or the email format, and then you'll be sent that. So here, again, the 3 C's of capital, you either have 1, 2, 3, none of them trade credit, startup, non-startup friendly as well. And ultimately, I look at maximizing, as I mentioned. And then the next point, I can then drive the point here. I want you to know right away. I don't want you to be led on to think, whoa, I got 550 credit and I'd make $5,000 a month, so I should be getting $75,000, or I should be getting credit-based financing when you won't get approved for that. And then I say here, and it could be changed in this format. So you're hearing it now, but I change this and I make variations of it. I'm always iterating. I'm always asking, can I make this better? Due to your low, and it depends on the client, due to your low but enough revenue and lower personal FICO credit score, I could have mentioned other things depending on the client. There's revenue-based lending, which we can look at getting funding based on the performance of your month-to-month bank statements, usually over the last 3 months, and get an initial amount to start with and get the rest more over time. A lot of people do this and start with approvals between, depending on what your monthly revenue is. It can be 20 to 25%, 75 to 200, 100 to 150. A lot of the time you see 1 to 2x percentage, or 1x to 2x. You can convert that into 100 to 200%. And that's for 5K minimum revenue in the last 90 days or the last 3 months, if you want to interpret it that way. And there's a few more things. So whether you're in business for cleaning, you are in the real estate space, maybe you have a manufacturing company, you have a chemical company, it could go on, but it's going to be highly personalized and customized to you. And here's where it gets even better. So then I go, hey, there's credit-based financing too, and I kind of justify like what you need already from the beginning, or it might change over time. And I'll say, hey, you need 680 credit, but you don't qualify for this, which you don't have. 700 is best, which you don't have yet. And I'll list a few other alternatives to that. You can get in with 670 plus credit on all 3 consumer credit bureaus and a few more things. But is there wiggle room? Is there not? And I say it here, and I give you guys a great explanation of it. In the case of credit, you can get someone who is willing to apply with their individual credit, get a credit partner, a friend, a family member, a business partner, etc., to take on the debt to help you, at least for the time being, and then it's a balance transfer if there's ever anything like that, or needs to be, or if it's allowed. And they can apply with their own individual credit to help service the debt. If there's somebody really who believes in you, and they can apply with their own individual credit to help service the debt. If there's somebody really who believes in you, explain this to them, understand that they will want a business plan, that they will want to know projections, assumptions, whether they know it or not. You need to present to them concrete numbers and things that make sense. The way you say it, the way you deliver it, but the actual numbers and all this stuff. So I'm going to break it down for you there. And then I go into it even more. I break down even more. Note 1, note 2. Please read through this PDF/email very thoroughly. The parts you need is 2 especially. And you can bookmark/save it to then refer back to, come back to it over time to reuse. Even if numbers were to change by then, you can at least understand now what to look for. Option 1 through this is what you should look at. And then I list the first option. And like I said again, each one of these options is very detailed. And you'll be able to know precisely, like, what are these lenders looking for? What is this lender? What is this organization looking for? Those are the qualifications that are required. I didn't even know that. Somebody else that I communicated with, they weren't sharing with me that. And so I'm breaking it down. Here's the hybrid advanced/term loan option. And they're going to be separated normally in green heading. So when you keep scrolling, you're going to see all the details. You can get to the bottom of this. I can break down some numbers if there are some that I can do. And then there will be a documents part. The documents will detail what documents are needed. It'll document how much or also how to be sent in. I'll put that in there on how I expect that. Maybe there's options, but sometimes there's one option and we can get it in our back end. And then it will be separated by that, and then you'll have an application. You can click on that link to get started. So it really breaks down everything, and then you can read the other option. I'll navigate to you where to go through and how much you should read versus what not to read. But you'll know what you can and can't qualify for without a shadow of a doubt. A lot of you out there are searching for options that are non-existent. If I go and publicly put a video out on only EIN loans and SSN free, it just doesn't exist. Those things are hard to get, and they really don't exist. And if there is one, it's just very seldom, and you have to have a high cash flow and profitable business, and it's probably a credit union where they can help to start with stated revenue, and it's still very hard to get approved for. You might still have to apply or send in a few documentation. I've seen a lot of that. But don't sit on that. You have to pledge collateral on the personal and business. It's just not going to work in your favor. Stop looking for loopholes. Stop looking for shortcuts. I always tell people, fix the diagnosis. Stop masking the symptoms. It could be your credit. It could be your business credit. It could be something with your EBITDA, your profitability, your cash flow. The list can go on and on. Now, documents, as I said there, click here, and I'll have extra links. So I'll link you to my video content, my blog content if necessary, other places, so you can just understand, and there's video reviews of this stuff and more. Self-employed, here's another green option. If that option up above doesn't work, then this next one does. And I'll listed in a way where the first one is best, the second one is second best, or the second one is the one you should skip, the third one doesn't apply to this. Now let's go into the creative credit-based financing, or creative credit-based financing, then to cash flow-based, then to collateral. It just depends on each file. And at the very bottom, there's a conclusion and a roadmap, what you should do and what we can do over time. So I've built out, I'm scrolling down on this PDF for a client. Conclusion. So overall, you can get started with, and I'll say that, and then I'll have a roadmap. I would focus on this because of this. And if this weren't to work, you have your second option, and we can explore the second option, but don't apply to all of them. That's something you guys have to be cautious of, is just applying anywhere and everywhere. And it doesn't do you any good. It does more harm than good. Your information is now given out to a lot of third parties in most cases, even if it's a direct lender at times. Normally it isn't, though. At that point, you're not going to the right direct lender. You're not the right file for them, or you are, but it's not going to be the best chance of an approval. If approved for, maximum funds, better rates, better terms, early payment discounts, you may not get any of that. And so when you're working with someone like myself who has the connection personally and in business, and in a proper systematic way of doing this, where we can say, hey, we might be able to pull from 3 lenders, protect your credit. There's a time and a place, and it makes sense mostly a lot of the time in this market right now to do this. And we can go on the back end and say, we want these 2 lenders, okay, but we really wanted this one, but we're going to entice this one. And now this one's seeing it, but this one now is going to come in and offer more because this one was probably offering something, if anything. And so we're able to do things more effectively and give you a better look, even give you multiple offers underneath one lender, and also be able to say, hey, we looked at 3 different lenders for your tier, so there's no need to look somewhere else. And if you go to another place, a lot of the times you don't have that one relationship in, and so it makes it more difficult, and you have to question who you're working with and who you're giving your file to. I see a lot of people in this industry who are the salespeople, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but how they do it, for me, when I hear those, phone call over or email get away, don't send me messages. Their approach, shady, others who are not loyal, a lot of ignorance, stubborn, and that can go on both sides. I'm not any of that. So when I normally work with business owners, the problem that I see normally stems from the other side, because I've worked on myself hard enough. I'm not saying it ever isn't to me, it normally isn't though. And it's just a character building trait. So character versus reputation, this is where I'm going to end it, guys. But just know that the questionnaire, I'm going to leave you down below in the description. Fill it out. I'm going to get caught up today. It's already 10:22 Pacific Standard Time. I got to get back to questionnaires. And there'll be more in that form that you can learn more about. Oh, let me cover this, and then I'll go back into character, because I said I would. Your name on the questionnaire, your best email, your phone number, mobile preferred. Why mobile? Because I'm asking that so I can then, when I send you an email usually, I'll then follow it up by a text. Hey, your name, and just wanted you to know that I sent you the email questionnaire. Please look for the email subject line with. Now, a lot of you don't even look at that. And a lot of you guys make excuses. I get busy. Yeah, I'm sure you get busy. But if it were important enough to you, you would look out for that, wouldn't you? And so I'm not saying that to sound aggressive or mean, and I know you get bombarded by a lot of people, but you have to look at what's the differentiating factor with working with someone else. So look at those things. You have funding amount requesting, time in business, and I put this all together myself, by the way. Time in business, years or months, FICO, Experian, credit score. And then I may have a section here, which isn't there right now. Do you have 670 plus FICO scores on all 3 consumer credit bureaus? Do you have established business credit? What's your ownership percentage? And lowest monthly revenue, latest monthly revenue, this month's current revenue, average monthly revenue, average daily bank balance, annual gross revenue, highest monthly sales in the last 6 months. Estimate these if need be. Average monthly gross sales in the last 6 months. Estimate if need be. Use of funds, you can have a drop down here. So I'm clicking now, and from purchasing an existing business or however it's formatted, all the way down to other, and then you may be able to list. So I'll just say expansion there. Existing business loan, yes or no? Very important for me to know. If yes, and it's not idle, it's not PPP, it's not like an employee retention credit 10K grant or any of those, but it is like I have a bank loan, I have a line of credit with the bank, or I have a fintech company, or I have a cash advance, and we'll list that. List how much available balance, but I need to know more too. That's why I say don't just list the balance. It's important for me to know what was the amount you started with. Like even people that I train in this, I go, well, how much did they start? I can understand, I can reverse engineer what their actual amount is in some cases, not always. But what's the actual principal and interest? What's the actual starting amount? I know that their balance is now this much, okay, but what is also their rate? What's their terms? And it helps also to know who the funder is. If I know who the bank or non-bank is, that helps me, because I'm not trying to do this from a point of view of what's in my best interest. If you're saying, well, I wanted 10 months, but somebody got you 8 months. Well, if we could work on those 10 months, even do 10 to 11 months, if possible, it would be beneficial for me to know who that provider is. So I'm looking in the right places, and I'm looking at what they are doing, what they shouldn't be doing, what they haven't done. And usually I'm able to beat most offers that are out there. Now, there's some exceptions to that are like, okay, it makes sense. Well, this license over here, and then it makes sense. But the majority of them, I'm able to go and say, okay, yeah. And we've done it night and day, where somebody once got $15,000, and now a lender moved up their revenue, and they moved up how much they're willing to lend out. And so one of them that I have a great relationship with, of many, they were able to come back for my client and do around $95,000. That's night and day, $15,000 to $95,000, because they went to the right provider. And I've done a lot more. There are a lot more examples that I can go through. But here, it's important to know that if you can list it, just list as much as you can. But I would prefer that you list the funder. I know a lot of you don't want to give, but I'm not going to be that person who's going to go, oh, well. It just helps. Term length expectation. When do you need the funds? Business industry, business name. Please describe, last part. Please describe your financials, your financial needs here, excuse me. Long day yesterday, guys. I was very spent, and I'm going to try to cut this short so I can have enough energy and time. I'm still recovering from yesterday's couple of videos. I went long on those. I had to for certain purposes. And I'm not a video person at all, but I'm here to deliver for you guys. Please describe your financial needs here. Example, expand on your use of funds, expectations, etc. Be thorough. This is your spot right here. This is what I care a lot of. I need to know, okay, expansion, what kind of expansion project or projects did you have in mind? Just release a little bit about that. Now, the savvy business owner, the person, if you have me as a business owner and I'm filling out this questionnaire, I know my numbers. I know my math. I'm a math person first. I said this in the beginning somewhat. And so I could give you my calculations. Do I have to? No. Can I give you a little bit? I may give you, okay, I already do 43% of my funds go to this, or I have to have expenses towards this. So I need to use working capital. I need expansion funding for these projects. I'm going to get a percentage in my gross profits of this, and I'm expecting at least 40% of my funds to be applied to that. If I applied 40% of my funds, then this would be what my return on my investment would look like. And there's a big gap between that in the business math. But I don't have to give you all of that now. I can tell you it later, but I don't have to always tell you that. But it just has to make sense. What are you using these funds for? I have a real estate purchase for an apartment complex, a condo, but then I also need working capital. All right, so we need to work with two different lenders then. We need to work with the ones who would do working capital, and then I need to go work with one who we're going to be doing apartment complexes and condos with. Now, can we do creative credit-based financing and tackle it all underneath one? If you can't qualify for traditional real estate financing, but you can for creative credit-based financing, and or that makes most sense. Now we have everything in one. We just did creative credit-based financing for somebody who needs working capital, for somebody who needs to purchase property, depending on what it is. Maybe it's a low appraisal, low LTV, all these other things, ARVs and all this stuff. Maybe you have something at $85,000 where the lender's requiring $100,000 plus or $150,000 minimum property value. Okay, we just did creative credit-based financing. Now you have an additional amount. You got approved for $125,000. What are you going to do with that additional amount? See how all of this is coming together? How it all makes sense? And there are many reasons you guys can get declined. I'm not going to get into that now. That's for another time. Insufficient revolving credit accounts. You have too much debt. Your debt to income is too high. If it's creative credit-based financing, revenue-based, it's different. Collateral-based. It just depends on what you're doing. Let me go to the comments and I'm going to close up here. But that questionnaire, and I'll go to character in a second. Questionnaire down below in the description. Make sure to check that out. I'll take care of you. Don't worry. You have a trusted person in your corner. I'm usually asking if you're one to be trusted. With me, you don't have to worry. I'm usually asking of the person on the other side, are they trustworthy? Even if I met them in person, trustworthy? Are they loyal? Are they reliable? Accountable? Responsible? What's their character really like? Okay, they're known like this in their business. This is their reputation. This is how people see them on the outside. Now, who are they on the inside? Who are they when they are away and they step away from their business or businesses? That's really the person. Okay, that's what matters. That's somebody I'm willing to invest a lot more of my energy and time into. Not that if you're not that way, I wouldn't at all. But don't bring that stubbornness, that attitude, and that effort, that unresponsiveness, that unaccountability, that unresponsibility or irresponsible, into my bubble. Don't bring it into my ecosystem. Don't bring it into my culture, because I'm going to spit that right out before it even came in. There's like a shield around it. It's going to deflect and it's going to hit back at you. And so all of this said and done, we leave that out the door. It causes friction and it causes too much resistance. There's going to be friction and resistance in parts of the process. I get that. But I look at eliminating that. It's like eliminating expenses. I'm looking at eliminating that. Are you an asset or you I'm going to eliminate that liability. You're not an asset. See, you're not an asset in terms of finances. You're not an asset yet in terms of yourself. And so how can I invest in working with someone who hasn't even invested in themselves? And invest in themselves, in their identity, in their who, in their why. So what on the what, on the how? Don't look at that. Why? How do you think Apple became Apple? How do you think Apple destroyed other competitors? And they really destroyed them if you look at their finances and everything. But from a why point of view, not a what, not a how, but from a why. They kept reiterating to the market why their company is one, but then two, you're investing in the owners. In any company, you should know these things for the majority. Not all of us do, but why should I invest in Steve Jobs? Why should I invest in Jeff Bezos? But, okay, why should I invest in the company he has now or the companies he had previously? Why Amazon? Why Jeff Bezos? Why Charlie Munger? Why Bill Gates? Why anybody? How many of you really ask that question before you do business with someone? Not a lot of you do. And so whenever I'm in these high-level consulting meetings, and I'm not always on a phone call with people, don't think that. Because again, I work with a lot of people, and I get to remember people. I don't forget them. Just because I work with more doesn't mean that at all. But what are you doing to stand out as well? That's what I'm asking. What makes you memorable? I'm not asking what makes your business memorable. I'm asking what you make memorable to me. And so I work with a lot of people, and I go, hey, that's Marie. Hey, that's John. I remember he was having a sandwich, and we were having a quick phone call, and he was ordering some Chipotle, and he was doing this at this place or whatever it was. And so, okay, yeah, they're like this with their family. Oh, nice. And so those things matter tremendously. But you got to ask yourself at the end of the day, why? The what and the how, that doesn't, for me, that's something that I can figure it out easily. Nowadays, I can. Simple, easy for me. For a lot of others, it's harder to. With more experience in business and other businesses, you'll realize this. But why? In character, that's, I think, where I want to end it. I'm going to go to the comments here in a second. But why? Why you? Period. It's just, why should I trust you? Why should I trust anything you're saying? If you've shown patterns already, if you've shown a habit of not even doing this with others, if you haven't even done this with your own payments, your own credit, things like that, what makes me believe that I can trust you? What makes me believe that you are loyal? Different things. What makes me believe that you are reliable? I know you're asking that of me and the person you work with, but with me, you don't have to worry about those things, period. So let me go to the comments and then I'll get back. And for those of you who I didn't say, questionnaire filled out. I have plenty. I got to get caught up on many. I'm going to get back on it in a second. I took a break to make this, just so you guys know. I am working my butt off. You are most welcome, Mishia. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I'm not sure if you're in here anymore. As in, well, it's viralfundingsolutions.com. You guys can go there. I'm not sure if that's what you were referring to. Maybe something else. Where's the money? Healing Tunes. It's here in this room, but not exactly here. It's just I can connect you with the best lenders and underwriters. The Bolt loan, if I didn't get into that already, I know I'd cover that. So SBA Bolt loan, it's not this technically free money, but this is one where if you have at least 2+ years time in business, you have around 150,000 in annual gross revenue. 30% of top line revenue is really what we can get people, and approved for, and varies per case as well. What we have to look through. No cash flow, or not strong enough cash flow, I should say. And you could be reporting a loss on profitability. You could be reporting a gain on that. No down payment is necessary. Only used for working capital, though. For those of you looking to debt refinance, consolidate for that specific product, it normally wouldn't work for that. It really wouldn't. So there are a few other things. FICO SPSS score, business liquid credit of about 175 plus. Personal credit, 700 plus. I know it has more strict credit requirements, but that's just how it works with these types. Especially there's another one out there up to 25,000 with an express loan, and there's other express loans amounts, but those require like 725 plus credit and other things that are involved with it. Free money though, there's 0% interest for 6 to 18 months in the form of business credit cards. That's another factor, and I'm going to leave more information for that in the description in time. Does anybody have any questions? I'll leave it on for like about a minute. But yeah, with the Bolt loan, I know I wanted to cover that earlier. There was so much to cover. I usually remember where I need to segment into. But the Bolt loan, and I'm actually looking at the pre-qualification questionnaire that I can send you if you are one that meets the minimum or the maximum, I should say, qualifications and requirements to this. But I've had plenty of people sending this back as well with their tax documentation, a few other things that will be requested. I won't go through all documents now, but you'll know this in time, and how to work up to it. So it's one thing to get this. It's another thing to say what other options are available and can you get another option on top of this. I do a lot of that every single day. Most importantly is, what does it take to be ready? That's the question every one of you should be asking is, what do I need, one, to be pre-qualified, but what do I need to do to be ready for funding? Not enough people ask that question. A lot of people think they already are or they are not, but yet they proceed anyways. And when it doesn't work for them, what do? They go apply to another place. Or if they've already applied to multiple places at once, they're just waiting for other responses. That's not the way to approach this. Even the lenders and underwriters are looking at these files and going like, what the heck? And they're probably thinking that this person probably didn't come through one of our brokers or ISO partners, or I don't know who's sending this file in. They probably heard about somebody else, but they don't know the exact requirements. You can call the company at times. They may give you stuff, but they might not give it to you exactly. And they might not even know their stuff. And getting that higher tier of access isn't always available. So that's why you guys have a broker, and yours truly, who knows their stuff, who works with credit, cash flow, collateral, who does real estate. I've done it all. And this is not me being cocky. I'm not like that. Confident and certain is what I am. Doing this day in and day out and doing these questionnaires, communicating with people in different ways, and when it makes sense to do it a certain way, I will, and going about it. So let's do 30 more seconds. Does anybody have anything? It's funny, a lot of people, and it's not funny like as in, it's like ridiculous, like it's ridiculous funny now. When people tune out of these when, for one, the service doesn't apply to them, when they don't get what they want. But that's just a closed-minded individual that may come back and open their mind up, or will never. And those are stubborn, hard-headed people. Now that at the core, you got to change their character. It's really where it's not, like I said, it stems from who they are. And that's things we can work on. I've done it for myself and many others. But what you have to think about is which is the right service for you. Do you have multiple options? Do you not? What can I do now? And then build into the future. That's what I do with a lot of business owners. I have people who start off as a complete startup. They're forming their entity right now. They're doing a lot of things. They're going to come back to me. I already shared with them where they should go, who's the best funder for what your needs are. Here's what to look out for. Here's what are the possible I show you guys the possible disqualifications. How to qualify disqualifications. Every file that I've worked with and everything that I've accumulated. How I funded this company. Maybe even examples I'll even share with you in those. Not always. But there's some, yeah, for certain ones. But I'll show you, like, hey, this is what we were able to do for this client. This is what we were able to do to this one. Specific industries, same industries, different industries. Okay. Now, here's what it could look like. Like today, I was working with the client. I think this is where I want to end it. I'm not a talker, guys, but I want you guys to get the most value. Today, I told a client who I have a good personal and business relationship with him. He had an offer, a couple of offers, should say 4 to 5 or so offers from us, from a specific lender that we were able to get for him. And he went with another provider for a specific type of provider, and for another specific one for inventory/equipment stuff. And I told him, oh, now that I know who the funder is, like we were waiting on hearing, like if I knew who the funder was, I'd be able to then work with him or try to give him some wiggle room or say, hey, this is what you should do instead of that. So he shared with me in a text message earlier this morning, and I said, oh, no wonder. If he would have just given me that when I asked for it, then I would have already, like, we wouldn't even had to wait another day or two. See how much of a difference that makes? And so he shared with me, and I told him, oh, yeah, go. Accept that offer. Go. Most definitely. And I ended that text message by just telling them I would never do what's in my best interest. I'm going to do what's in your best interest all day for you and for everybody. I'm not doing this for a payout. Sure, it's a business, but I'm never doing this for me. What is in your best interest? And so what I did also is I did a lot of numbers. So I'm a numbers guy again. And so here I am on my paper writing down all the scenarios where he told me his rate was this. He told me the percentage per month. It didn't sound like a traditional advanced product. So then I started breaking that down, and I broke it down over the term that he had. That was really 27% interest, which could have been a 1.27% factor rate. But there is more to that than just saying that. It wasn't always that concrete. So there are more things that I had to look at. And so breaking that down as opposed to the offer that we presented him, which, yeah, it was a higher factor rate because of his depositing, because of other things, the industry, the uncertainty that we had to factor in, rightfully so. And it should be like that for everybody. And so I was doing all these number calculations, and even at our lowest offer, how much of an actual interest or an actual APR, if I change that, those aren't usually traditional APR products. I was doing all these calculations, and I thought, even at the lowest, but he can be coming in with a lower offer. And even though it was a bigger, higher rate, what he just wasn't justifying was the rate. And I asked him, well, what other options did he have? Or who did he get these fundings from? Okay, I see there's a big difference, but we also gave him great early payment discounts. But at the end of the day, I told him it's not all about rates, but in his situation, the offer he was given, the amount compared to what we gave him at the highest, it's about $5,000 to $6,000 difference. Okay, well, okay. I did tell him too. Yeah, I would do that. If I were him, I would have done that. Now, it just depends. If it's not a rate thing, and if it were more funding, it just depends on what we were able to do. Came in at a higher offer, but in better early payment discounts, early payment discounts, excuse me. But he's seeing it in a different way. And so him and I did not leave on bad terms. He's very much appreciative and grateful. And he's just one of many too. But what sticks with me is how you also communicate, who the person is, how they communicated it, how they delivered that message. And so I was willing to go the distance to help that person as well as others in the past, and I still will in the future. And I go, okay, if you got a 1.27%, if I amortize that, what is your actual cost of funds on 10,000? You're paying back 13,000, a 1.2, a 1.3. So your cost of funds at $3,000 there. So then I'm going to start doing a lot more calculations on my end to look at that number and divide that by the 10,000, and then I multiply that by 365 days or so, amortize that over 100%, and then I'm getting the actual interest. I'm getting the actual APR, but I don't have to go that far into that extreme to know the interest. There's other ways of doing it. It's much easier to see. Now I'm going on. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Does anybody have any questions? I know we have a few people in the room. Feel free if you guys have a comment, but I will get going. Let's keep it under 30 seconds. So yeah, with that person though, I was like seeing a double jump in rates compared to what he could have been getting over here. And so I'm seeing it and I'm going, well, now that I know who the funder was, I'm like, you have to be licensed in a specific state and for what they do specifically. And if it really is that, they won't really bait and switch them. If it's that just a pre-approval, or they're really going to get them a higher amount, or they're going to keep it the same, like those are those questions too. And sometimes they switch it. That's what you guys have to be careful about. I don't participate in any of that. Okay, 15 more seconds. Okay, everybody. Appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in today. Please have a great rest of your day/afternoon. It is sunny here in Washington. Very grateful and thankful. I'll be enjoying a few things this afternoon, probably stepping away early. Just taking a little bit of time for myself on a mental platform. Sometimes I do have to step away from this and re-energize, recalibrate. Other times I just go on and on. I'm like that person who can go on and not really take a break, but I know I need to, and I have been doing that for a little bit. Okay, guys, all description. See, introverts, video stuff. Description, bio information, and all that information will be in there. Appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I will speak to you on the next one. Take care. Bye.